Alrighty, hey guys, this is Garrison, and here we're going to do a 3 weeks with my 3 Series update video on my car. I've had the car for a little over 3 weeks, actually exactly a month, and so we're still in the honeymoon phase, obviously. Repair bills haven't started to flood in quite yet, but I just kind of want to debrief you guys on what it's like to go from a Civic to a 3 Series, and what like the first month has been like. So let's go ahead and get started with that. I've got my iPad here with a couple of talking notes on it. So this is I feel very Sophie on Bay, New York International Auto Show here, but don't let me fool you. This is still a one-man show. So first thing on the list is highway manners. I just recently took a trip to Washington, D.C. A close friend of mine is doing summer school at Georgetown, and they live in the Adams Morgan area, is kind of basically in the northwest part of D.C., and then they're going summer school in Georgetown. So they're commuting to and from every day. And one of my friends that actually works at the BMW dealer in Wilmington was able to get me a parking pass for D.C., but this is only for street parking. And I'll throw up some pictures here and throughout the video of whatever I'm talking about. But street parking wasn't very comfortable. Basically, all the cars... Oh my God, there's literally deer. Okay. This is something you don't see in DC. Okay, back to our regularly scheduled programming. I have never seen deer in this neighborhood. Let me just say that. But that was interesting. But back to DC. So basically, DC parking... I had a parking pass for street parking. Wasn't very comfortable with that. Basically, every car on the street was like a 2008 Hyundai Elantra with messed up front and back bumpers, or it was like a 4 Series Grand Coupe with the bumper buddy things on the front and the rear. And so I wasn't very comfortable with that. Luckily, my friend's row home that he was living in actually had parking around back in the alley, so I was able to squeeze my car in between his car and the roommate's Acura TL Type S, thankfully. So the power folding mirrors came in handy. But as far as the road manners go on the 3 Series, it's so much easier, so much more effortless to go down the highway. It definitely ate up miles a whole lot smoother than the Civic did, of course. The Civic would just strain itself. Anything you go over like 70, and you could definitely notice a difference between being pulled by the front wheels and being pushed by the rear wheels. So the DC trip went really well. I'll go ahead, I can throw pictures up. I'm sure I was throwing pictures up. Of course, when I got there, my first impression of DC was gridlock traffic, because I made the mistake of getting there at around 4:30. So, of course, I was lucky enough to spend about an hour and a half sitting in gridlock. But just another thing about the car, the solidity of it, like having a German car coming from a Japanese compact sedan, so different, especially coming from like the Lexus. You can notice a difference between how the doors close, how the switchgear feels. It's so different. And this is just off the cuff stuff that I've noticed. And so I'm sure some of you guys will definitely relate to that. Another thing is the drive mode selector that I've noticed. It completely changes the driving experience of the car, especially drive sport mode of the transmission. When you like pull it back and put it over to the manual mode, at first it's just a drive sport mode, and then when you actually like shift the gear manually, it turns into the manual mode. It completely changes the atmosphere of the car. You can ring this car out and have the most fun and still like not be breaking the law, because of course it's not got a powerhouse under the hood. It's not the N55 320 horsepower, etc., etc. You can still basically have fun and ring this car out and not be breaking too many laws. Eco Pro mode makes it very easy to drive more linear. It's definitely a lot smoother. It's not as eager to downshift. And that's what I find myself in most times when I've got people in the car. Comfort mode can still be a little bit too eager to like downshift and stuff like that. So Eco Pro mode is definitely it's a good driving mode, and I don't want to bash it, because it's something that it's definitely just a more relaxed, slower paced way to drive the car. Gas mileage has been exceptional. On the way back from DC, I think I was averaging like 36.6, and then for a 2-mile stretch, I got gas, reset the trip odometer, and reset the MPG. I was averaging 37, and that's with cruise set on 80 coming back from DC. And so that's hard to complain. I'm getting 500, 600 miles out of a tank of gas, whereas in the Civic, I was lucky to get 350 out of a tank of gas. But as far as gas goes, I am putting 93 octane in it. Minimum requirement is 89. The previous owner put 93 in it. I'm getting exceptional gas mileage, and 93 you get optimal performance. I feel like I need all the power reserve I can get, so if 93 gives me 180 horsepower, then I'll take it. Another thing is the iDrive. I do have navigation in this vehicle if you didn't see my other video about the car, which I will annotate in the cards wherever they would be. I do have iDrive. 2014 is the updated with the touchpad interface. Very cool system. I do like the touchpad. It's definitely unique. Some of my friends get in the car and be like, I can't believe it doesn't have a touchscreen, all that kind of stuff. But it's definitely a lot easier to keep your hands on the wheel and your eyes on the road and not having to fumble with the touchscreen. Navigation, I love the extended gauges. It was definitely beneficial, DC traffic, stuff like that. As far as navigation goes, of course, it's from 2014. And so I did have to use my phone once getting into DC. It's definitely not something I would depend on, but it's definitely nice to have the extended gauges and the larger screen and the nicer touchpad, even if I don't use the navigation part of it. So it does have a lot of perks. Maintenance, as far as maintenance goes, hold on, let me pull out my maintenance paperwork. I did go to the BMW dealer and just kind of see what was recommended for the 50,000 mile service or close to it. As far as BMWs go, maintenance is not cheap at all. And 50,000 miles is kind of a big service interval for 3 Series. You kind of have to do spark plugs. It's about the time when brakes need to be done. Pads and rotors, this was quoted pads and rotors. I don't think, are rotors required? I thought rotors were only if the rotors were worn down, but I don't know. They might come as like a pair. I still have to do more research on it. Like I'm still like 3,000 miles from my service time, so I have time to do more research on that. So I have front brakes, engine oil, spark plugs, microfilter, which is basically just cabin air filter, and brake fluid. Brake fluid is supposed to be done every 2 years. So all of that quoted me at the BMW of Wilmington service department is a whopping $1,671.49 after tax. That's $800 in labor, $718 in parts, $40 in miscellaneous charges, and total tax of $109. So all of that will not be getting done at the BMW dealer, and it's going to be done at separate times. It doesn't all have to be done at the same time. Like spark plugs don't have to be done as soon as you roll 50,000. I might wait until 60 to do those because the N20 is basically, it's a fine engine. Like it's pretty bulletproof. I have a friend with a 14 X3, and she just rolled 80,000 and just got her sparks plug changed, and she's fine. So I definitely wouldn't recommend going much over 60, but it's definitely something that you need to like keep in mind that needs to be done. So maintenance, of course, isn't cheap. Engine oil anywhere you go is going to be about $100 because it is synthetic. But all the other stuff, we have a private German mechanic that we're friends with, so all of that will be taken care of mostly there. Tires and wheels, I am still on the search for nicer wheels. I want 18s, preferably Sportline wheels, or other 18-inch designs, basically anything but the luxury line wheels. Tires are still holding up well as well. I've probably got another couple thousand miles out of them, giving me some time to recoup some money and track down wheels if that's the route I do want to go. I also do want to do headlights. Headlights is an upgrade. That would be about $600 for the lenses, and then I would have to pay someone to put them in because I'm not going to rip the front bumper off and do all that kind of stuff. That would be way over my head. I could get it off, but I wouldn't want to put it back on. So I'd want to pay someone the labor and just throw those in. So that's something on the list that needs to be done, but it all doesn't need to be done like the first month I've owned the car. Like I can do this stuff later down the road, like get some more wear on these headlights, let them oxidize a little bit, and throw in some really nice halos and angel eyes or whatever you call them. And then last but not least, stuff that I was done is window tint. I did get a 35% ceramic window tint all the way around. Definitely was a pretty penny, a lot more expensive than the Honda, over $300. So, and I did do the die cut where like the computer cut them. It was a little bit more consistent, and so the cut lines do look a little bit nicer, a little bit smoother. They were able to go behind the third brake light, which was nice. They didn't have to cut around it. I hate when I see cars with like the third brake light cut out, because it's basically like the tint person didn't take the time to like put the film behind it. and it's the same guy that tinted my Civic. So I didn't cheap out there. I knew I wanted window tint with the black leather interior. Being in the South, living in Wilmington, having this car for a while, all the padded surfaces, it all kind of encouraged me to go for like the nicest film I could get. And so that's definitely something I invested in. But other than that, this video has been going on way too long. I'm sitting here sweating. It's time to go inside. That's about it. If you got any questions about my ownership so far with the 3 Series, feel free to comment down below. Other than that, thank you guys for watching, and I will see you in my next video.